Hey everybody, it's Quinton Blair. You're listening to Hank Jr. on Hank's Corner. Yeehaw!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Hank's Corner. I am your host, as always, Hank Jr. I'm part of Hank Jr. Productions, where I'm documenting life's moments through photography, videography, and, of course, podcasting. And we are only in the third month of the year. March, and this is actually going to be my third Canadian artist. If you guys remember, I brought on Nicole Ray and the Rocker Rogue, who have been on Hank's Corner, and now we get to talk to the one and only Quinton Blair. Quinton, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. You got to talk to my buddy Nicole Ray. That's fantastic.
Oh, so you guys are friends?
Yeah. Nicole and I are good friends. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Good for you, because she is a fun-loving person, and not even just in the interview that I have, but watching her through social media and all the stuff that she's getting involved in. She just seems like a good person to hang out with, and maybe offline you can give me some little behind the scenes things I can tease her with later.
Yeah, no, she's always up to something. She's out east of me, but she comes out to our different industry events that happen in Manitoba, and we used to be really well connected with a friend of ours who passed a couple of years back. But that was my connection to Nicole, and so we see each other at different events throughout the year that are kind of going on across the country. So,
all right, well, if you run into her, you got to say hi for me over there.
Yeah. It's an interesting world. I was chatting with another friend of mine, and her name was Michelle. She lives up in Fort Mac, Alberta. And I was playing a music festival in Cuba just a couple of weeks ago. Oh. And so we'd never met before. Her and her husband showed up at the event, and obviously she was there kind of singing and hosting and stuff like that. And I was just chatting with her, and I said, it's amazing the people that we meet on this journey that you just would have no idea that you meet them. But musicians, when we meet, a lot of times, like, because we come from the same place, we live the same life, we go through the same things and the same struggles, and sort of like balancing out our emotions as far as like trying to like put them into song, and at the same point be business owners, and there's so many kind of just different balls that you got to kind of like just juggle and keep up in the air. But then when you meet another musician who's kind of doing the same thing, you're just like instantly friends, because you can relate on so many different levels where you can't relate with necessarily everybody on a day, like on a typical basis. Walk into meet your random person at a show or wherever, and they've got one style of a life, but they don't understand what it's like for your life. And I think with musicians, it's interesting when you get us into the same room.
And of course, with technology now, you don't necessarily even have to be in the same room. Obviously, you and I are, from different parts of the continent right now. Of course, those who follow me know I'm in a little corner in the Tampa Bay area where, I was telling you offline, we're going through a lot of allergy season right now as all the pollen is falling down. But what's it like in your area right now?
Oh, it's beautiful spring. It's an early spring. We didn't get hit with too much snow in the wintertime, which is in some ways it's a good thing, and in a lot of ways it's a bad thing, because we've got a lot of farms in the area, so we need to make sure we've got enough moisture in the soil for that. But probably more scary is places out west in Alberta. They're kind of going through drought. Like, the water tables are low, there's wells drying up, and they're just not getting snow, and then it just doesn't rain there as much as it rains over here. So there's just concerns about forest fires. Last year was a really bad year for forest fires out there, and they're kind of suggesting that it's probably going to be another year similar to that. And there's nothing you can even, like, there's no water in the ground to even have like a hint of moisture or whatever. So it's a scary thought for cattle producers. That's our cattle country out there. So that's kind of a scary thing. I go out there pretty regularly, and I was out there over Christmas break, and I took my daughter out there. We wanted to go skiing, but no snow. All we could do was hike. So, I mean, that was great too, but, we went there to
Yeah.
ski and couldn't do it.
Yeah, that reminds me of me and my family a few years back when I was still living in Texas, and we lived in South Texas, and we decided to take the kids during one of the breaks all the way up to Ruidoso, New Mexico, where there's supposed to be a lot of snow in the mountains. Of course, when we get there, they didn't have any snow, so they were doing man-made snow when we got out there, and of course, that's just our luck when we do anything. We never seem to time things right, but we do wish for the best all the way out there in the West. Of course, some people just talk about it. It's always inconvenient with the snow, but it's there for a reason. And, we hope the land heals up pretty quickly. But, back to better things. I mean, you got a new song that's just out not too long ago called Someday Sunday. Tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, Someday Sunday. It's a co-write of mine with one of my friends. He's a Canadian Country Music Hall of Famer. His name is Jason McCoy, and he's just a great. Like, you write a song with Jay and you're like, wow, it feels like you've written 10,000 songs in your career. And it's because he has written 10,000 songs in his career. And it just blows my mind with his ability to riff and come up with ideas. And he's got a daughter who's, about 13, 14 years old, I think. And she's into horses, and my daughter's 12 and she's into horses. And so we were going to write a song about being a horse dad and dragging our girls all around to these different horse events that they go to. And we got sidetracked on that day and just started talking about, those times we say, oh, one day I'm going to go do this. One day I want this to happen, or I want to make this memory. And what we kind of came up with is like that concept of like, well, let's make today that someday Sunday. We always say one day. I think because the reality is that, we take for granted so often the time that we have with people in our lives. And the reality is, kids grow up, relationships dissolve, people move in and out of our lives, and time runs out. And so it's so easy to say, hey, Dad, I'll go golfing with you next week. And then, I just wanted to write a song that was sort of encouraging people to say, hey, like, go and do that stuff when you have the time to do it, because, my daughter's not going to be 12 forever. Like, let's go skiing, let's go hiking, let's go adventuring, let's go camping, let's go kayaking, let's just go and do stuff, because one day we'll look back on these days with good memories. And it's just so easy to just look at the calendar and go, goodness, when can I even fit this kind of thing in? I'm too busy to do any of this stuff. And, there's that urging to say, hey, like, let's prioritize a bit and make sure we take that time with the ones who kind of hold that spot in our heart, because, that time isn't guaranteed.
Yeah, that's very well said. And I know I'm liking the song, and if the viewers haven't heard it yet, we're not going to wait. We're going to go ahead and play Someday Sunday right now. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about how you got into the music business.
Beauty.
We always said one day we were gonna roll down that old gravel road, grab a bottle of red in that old truck bed, and just see where things go. Cuddle up so sweet on that big bench seat to some AM radio. No more could have been or should have been. Baby, let's go. It's a Sunday, Sunday. Let's do the things we said we were gonna do. One day, let the world just keep on spinning and time keep ticking away. It's a Sunday, Sunday, yeah. I always said one day I was gonna put that ring on your hand and build that two-story red brick white picket dream on that land. We always knew that we'd plant some roots and start a family. Well, no more waiting or hesitating. Well, baby, it's time for you and me. It's a Sunday, Sunday. Let's do the things we said we were gonna do. One day, let the world just keep on spinning and time keep ticking away. It's a Sunday, Sunday. Let's do the things we said we were gonna do one day. Let the world just keep on spinning and time keep ticking away. It's a someday, someday. It's a someday, someday. Let's do the things we said we were gonna do one day. Let the world just keep on spinning and time keep ticking away. It's a someday, someday. It's a someday, someday.
Welcome back to Hank's Corner. I'm Hank Jr. here with my special guest, Quinton Blair, and you just heard his recent song, Someday, Sunday. And sometimes I always have a tongue-twisting problem when it comes to certain words, and that's why I always got my little cheat sheet here so I could try to say it properly. But it is kind of a little bit of a tongue twister. Do you ever have trouble with any of your songs being a tongue twister when you're up on stage?
I think by the time I get it up on stage, I've sung it, how many thousands of times that I've got it kind of dialed in. But it's this interesting thing. I don't kind of take it for granted. The one of the things I love about country music is to be an artist playing country music, you have to know the country music catalog. Like, you don't have like rock bands going around covering other rock bands, right? You don't typically see that. But in country music and folk music, they'll do some of that. In country music, like you have to be able to play the songbook, and you have to know everything from your, Willie and Waylon to Alan and Garth to, Clint Black to Diamond Rio to Shenandoah. Like you got to be able to cover all these different bases when you're playing. And the number of times that I'm at a show playing a song, and typically the way that my mind just happens to kind of prepare to sing, I need to get the first line. Once I get the first line, I can figure out the story, I can figure out the rhyme on the go, and I can kind of piece it together as we go. But sometimes I need that first line, and I can't tell you the number of times I've stepped up to the microphone, like, I don't know what the next line is. I don't know what the next line is. I don't know what the next line is. And like the second before I need to sing it, oh, there it is. And I just sing it. And
well, that attributes to the natural talent that you have, because that doesn't seem to work with me, even though I've heard songs, 100 times. And, I think I know the next verse, and I'm like, I guess I didn't know the next verse. I guess I'm singing a verse ahead or something like that. And, that, like I said, it has to deal with, I'm sure, your natural talent. But, walk us back a little bit. How did you get started in the music industry? Well, even before that, just kind of dabbling around with music, and what made you decide to get into the music industry?
I was there's sort of a number of different kind of things that have to happen in order to kind of land into this job kind of thing. So I don't know if it's necessarily that one thing, but one of the things that was kind of one of the positions I was in. I guess I was working at a ranch. I was going to university, and was working at this dude ranch, and we'd take people for trail rides and all that kind of stuff. And they said they're sitting around one day, they're planning a horse show, and they're like, we need a singing cowboy. We need a guy that can sing and play country music and sit around the campfire. And I'm like, I can play country music. Like I hadn't performed out playing country music at the time, but I was like, I could totally do this. And so I started just sitting around the campfire and taking requests and playing songs and kind of recognizing that, country music is just sort of part of the fabric of who I am. And it was something that just kind of came naturally to me. So I didn't ever have to really sit there and, of course we've all worked on our craft and our trade. And, I don't know how many tens of thousands of hours I've sat there playing guitar or singing songs, but, at the end of the day, you do it because you love it. You do it because you love the connection that you make with the people, with the other musicians. But in that moment, we'd sit out in a place called Oak Bank, Manitoba, just outside of a place called Winnipeg. So it's right in the center of Canada, like from east to west. And we'd host these moonlight rides. And so the ranch staff would take the folks on a ride, and I'd sit around the campfire and roast marshmallows, and banana boats and coffee and sit around and entertain them for a couple hours after the ride. And it's kind of evolved into this whole thing during all those COVID shutdowns. I just kind of reverted back to my roots, and I started doing these backcountry concerts where I'd take 2 to 3 people on a trail ride, and then we'd stop on a ridge, and I'd pull up my guitar and play some songs, and it's like, this is just where I started. And but during COVID, people wanted a chance to get outdoors, and then I know that it was kind of different all over the continent, right, as far as just how stuff going on. And in Manitoba, it was really heavily enforced that you can't do any of this stuff. And so we'd go outside into small groups, and I'd still be playing shows, but it was the exact same way that I started playing shows in the first place: horses and campfires out in the wilderness.
Yeah, and to me, that's the true picture of kind of country and Western music. I'm picturing in my head, but I also came across, like, I don't know why, while you were talking, and maybe just the reference to the Dude Ranch and around the campfire, but I don't know if you ever remember seeing the old movie, The Three Amigos, way back in the day. And, I don't know why, it just got me thinking of it. And somebody at work was talking about that recently, and, nothing like a good movie, singing about a guapo around the campfire and that good stuff. But, all of that, though, led you to where you are, and you've won some awards and been nominated for some big awards. Tell us about that.
Yeah. It's just kind of, I think the first thing that you learn when you start getting into like awards conversations is that you can't eat an award. At the end of the day, it's great to be recognized by your peers. It's great to be recognized by the industry around you. But at the end of the day, like, there's no way that can be why you do music. So I kind of take all that stuff with a grain of salt and just go, it's great. It's a tip of the hat. It's a feather in the cap, and I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for the spot that I'm in. I think maybe as things kind of progress here, some folks are asking like, where do you want your career to go, and what do you want it to be like? And I'll be the first to tell them. I mean, my goal when I first started playing music was like, I want to be the quintessential rodeo band in Manitoba, like middle of nowhere, Manitoba. So we've spent years playing the rodeo circuit here, and I'll bring my horse with me and, compete at the rodeo and then play the rodeo dance at the end of the night kind of thing. And I love that ability. It's, relatively close to home, couple hours away kind of thing. And then I said, as a stretch goal, maybe I'd like to be kind of the rodeo band on the prairies. So Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. And, this year we capped off by playing the Canadian Finals Rodeo and the Calgary Stampede. And those are the 2 biggest rodeos in Canada. So I kind of feel like we've accomplished those goals. And that's almost like those, like, getting the tap on the shoulder to play those shows maybe means more to me than winning awards, because that's me out there. It's my crew, my family. We're a 6-piece band. We travel down the road together in a tour bus. And, those guys are like brothers to me. Sometimes the wives come along on the bus too, and just are a part of everything that we're doing. I try to drag my daughter along as much as I can, but she's kind of at that age where it's not that cool to go watch your dad play on stage right now. So there was a time, but maybe we'll get back to that point at some juncture as well. But it's like you're out there with your family, you're doing what you love. And so, yeah, if people recognize you for doing that, hey, that's fantastic. But I think most importantly, I love playing music, engaging with people, and being on stage with my band.
Yeah. Well, nevertheless, congratulations on all the awards that you've been winning and nominating for. It is something that, like you said, that it's a recognition, but it's all part of the journey. And whether, you're journeying allegorically through your music career or from, place to place, I think now's a good time to go ahead and play 300,000 kilometers.
Wonderful.
Stars on the Midwest, scars on a broken heart, and she relived her memories with her tattoos in the dark. Till the wild ducks, they called her name, She points her car northwest. Stopped at the end of the day to top the tank and get some rest. And it's 300,000 kilometers. She'll push that Merc for 100 or more. She'll get lost somewhere in the mountains where he can't haunt her soul anymore. Her tears, they fall like the dew from the pines. Oh, when a soft breeze will blow to change your time and place in life. And somewhere in the hills, yeah, somewhere far away, she's got a small herd of horses and a place to make some hay. And it's 300,000 kilometers. She'll push that Merc for 100 or more. She'll get lost somewhere in the mountains where he can't haunt her soul anymore. But time, it has a way of fixing things that we cannot change. Search your heart and search your soul for the narrow road to lead you back home. Of the wolves that night, oh, when the summer sun sank down and slowly faded into night, and miles turned to years that she spent running. Oh, when you don't look back, you always see what's coming. And it's 300,000 kilometers. She'll push that Merc for 100 or more. She'll get lost somewhere in the mountains where he can't haunt her soul anymore.
Welcome back to Hank's Corner. You just heard 300,000 kilometers, and not to be confused with miles here in the United States. That's by Quinton Blair. I'm Hank Jr., part of Hank Jr. Productions, and you know I'm documenting life's moments through photography, videography, and, of course, podcasting. And, you mentioned that you're a songwriter. Do you remember the first song that you ever wrote?
I would have, yeah, I probably couldn't sing it for you anymore, but I feel like I remember the essence of it. I used to play in a band, and we were, I used to call us slop rock. Like there's a style of Canadian rock where it's just not clean and polished. And some of our biggest acts, exporting out of Canada for that I was a fan of growing up and during my formative years. One of my favorite bands was a band called the Tragically Hip, and they played like Woodstock, like they're like a significant band, but for some reason they just kind of stuck in the around the Great Lakes area. Like they're kind of a big deal in Chicago and Minneapolis and like all across Canada, and they go into Europe and stuff, but they didn't really break into the US. And that would have been that 90s. I mean, they'd be competing against your Nirvana and Foo Fighters, right? And so it's like that was, I mean, I guess Nirvana would have been slop rock too, but that's kind of the essence, right? So that was the vein of music that when I was in high school, that was the band that I joined up with, was that, playing that style of music. And eventually I left that band just because I was like, I'm far too country for these guys. And went down that road. But no, it's songwriting is this interesting journey because it's like going to the gym. It's like working out. Like you get better at it the more that you practice it.
Yeah, definitely.
So
And it's
process.
not, it wouldn't be the first time, when I talk with different people on the show where, they talk about how their craft has improved over the years. And it always becomes a little bit of a debate on whether or not the artist will actually leave some of their earlier work on social media or on the internet because it doesn't match their brand anymore. And some people will pull that, and some people say, hey, no, that's where I came from, and I love showing my growth. But yeah, you're correct. It's like going to the gym. You work at it, you're going to get better. And when you write, do you write a lot from your personal experience, and how deep do you get?
It depends on the style of write. I like to write by myself, and I like to write in a co-write situation. So when you co-write, there's always far less of yourself in the song. There's moments in there, but it's definitely not the same. So, I mean, good examples would be, Someday Sunday, I wrote with a co-write, and 300,000 I wrote on my own based on experiences with people that I've met through the years. So, yeah, sometimes I do. So different when I write them one way versus the other way.
One of the questions I kind of ask sometimes is, with all the songs that are out there and what songs mean to you, given the opportunity to say, hey, any song out there that you wish you had written yourself, what song would that be?
Oh man, any country song from the 70s, probably. I just love that. I love that storytelling aspect to it. I love the different stamp of it's just a different era of, if you would kind of try to transpose any of those 70s style country artists, from anyone from like Emmylou Harris to Willie Nelson to, Waylon and Merle, and I mean, those are like the heavy hitters, but like you kind of go down that list a little bit further, like it's just none of them would have a voice on the industry if we operated then the way that we do now. And so I'm a big fan of that writing from the 70s, and I love the tongue-in-cheek writing of the 90s. So obviously if I could write a song like, probably one of my favorite songs from that era would be Help Me Make It Through the Night. So that's Chris Christopherson.
Mm-hmm.
Love, yeah, like I love that feel of Four on the Floor with Waylon and stuff like that. So maybe like A Good-Hearted Woman that'd be such a fun one. And it's not a difficult song. It's just an easy song, right? But that song connects with so many people just based on, that being a Willie and Waylon combo. And that's great. I love, or another one would be Poncho and Lefty. And I love that combo between, Willie sings most of it, and then Merle comes in just on the last verse out of nowhere and sings the last verse, and I love that. And that's a great Townes Van Zandt right. So I'm a big fan of that Texas country. I'm a huge Guy Clark fan, huge Lyle Lovett fan. And I just love the sounds that are coming out of Texas still, because they probably echo more of what that 70s country was, right? It's that red dirt country, and maybe it'll just always be red dirt country, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I nothing against the modern music, because I love a lot of the artists that I have on here. It's not quite the same as what you're talking about, but I do hope that Texas 70s style music does not change, and it will always be there as a one of the genres within country music. And those are some great artists that you're talking about there. I mean, I like them myself as well. Do you find that those influences find a way into your music?
I think they do, depending on whether it's the co-write or the solo write. So I'll be much more open to my own influences when it's a solo write than versus, a co-write. So another tune that I put out recently was a song called $20 Bottle, and that was a song. I spent a lot of time, like I said, with my horses in the wilderness, and my buddy comes along with us. He brings his 2 mules, Betty and Wilma, and we just been on this camping trip, brought the kids along, and we had this great time out in the woods for about a week. And then I hopped on a plane and went down to Nashville, and I was songwriting with another Canadian named Jason Blaine, and wanted to write this song about, she buys her wine 4 liters at a time, or $20 bottle of wine, or what. And Jay looks at me and he says, "Man, you're a cowboy. Like, this is a moonshine song all day long." And so I said, "Okay, it'll kick you in the teeth, it kicks you in the gut." And then I look at him and I say, "It'll kick you like a mule, puts a hitch in your hobble." And then he kind of catches on to this drift and he says, "And it's a whole lot of trouble in a $20 bottle." And we kind of came up with the line, but it was a direct result of literally a camping trip I was on 2 weeks earlier. And it just kind of worked its way into the song right like that. And we knew we had the line, and then we just had to write the rest of the song. But that was a really fun process to go through. We kind of wanted to, we knew kind of the feel that we wanted to go for coming in, and then we took that song back to my producer, who's in Toronto, and his name is Pete Lesperance, and he toured the world in a band called Harem Scarum. So it's like a melodic hair metal band. And if you listen to $20 Bottle and you listen to the guitar playing on it, you go, that's a different approach to melody and harmony than typically what you'd expect a country player to play. So I always think that Pete's a little bit of my secret sauce when it comes time to put music out, because he just has a different interpretation of country. He tours around, he plays all over Canada with a number of really great country acts, kind of the top of the top. And then, of course, they tour the world with Harem Scarum as well. So it's he's kind of a well-traveled guitar player, but it's really interesting to see his interpretation of that red dirt 70s influenced country that I love to write, or the storytelling aspect of it, right? So $20 Bottle is a story song, and it's just so much fun just to go down these roads with collaboration, right? Same way as we were chatting about Nicole at the beginning, when you have these relationships and these friends that you make, we just like to work together. We just like to collaborate and just see how it works out. Sometimes it's, some days are diamonds, some days are stone, right? So it's just a great privilege to be able to kind of be on this journey and get to play music for a living.
Yeah, and I like $20 Bottle, but I'm going to save that till a little bit later in the show, so the listeners will, wait for that. We're going to go ahead and play "Man of Constant Sorrow." We'll come back. We'll start wrapping things up.
In constant sorrow, I am a man of constant sorrow. I've seen trouble all my days. I bid farewell to old Kentucky, the place where I was born and raised. The place where for 6 long years I've been in trouble. No pleasures here on earth I've found. am a man of constant sorrow. I've seen trouble all my days. Play that fiddle for me, son.
Welcome back to Hank's Corner. I'm Hank Jr. here with my special guest, Quinton Blair out of Canada. And you heard a song that's Man of Constant Sorrow, which is a cover. And we talked a little bit about that. You kind of have to know in country music, a lot of different covers. It's just kind of the way it is when you get out there and play. What are some of the favorite covers that you like to play while you're on stage?
Oh, man. Something happens to me when I play Tulsa Time. And I don't know what it is. I mean, I grew up, my grandmother's kind of favorite artist was Don Williams. I've got the Expressions album with Tulsa Time on it on my vinyl collection, and it spins regularly for me in my house. But something happens when the band starts playing that song, and I don't really know what it is. I just let the music take it. But it is, to me, that's when the show starts. Like, we'll play a bunch of songs, but when I start playing Tulsa Time, that's when the show really begins. And so that song means a heck of a lot to me. And I also love one of my tunes that I wrote is called After They're Gone. But we go from that and we like have a medley where we go into the Orange Blossom Special. And so that's another great moment, just letting my fiddle players just rip on Orange Blossom Special, and I'll run out into the crowd and I'll find someone to polka with, and we'll polka around while the band is up on stage, kind of have this great moment together. So those would be two songs that I just really look forward to playing every night. But I mean, the thing with that songbook, I mean, it's so good. There's so many great country songs.
Of course, and it sounds like you have a great show that goes. It just sounds fun already. But the Tulsa Time and the way you said that, I've yet to hear anybody perform Tulsa Time on stage. So that alone will get me to want to come see one of your concerts live.
Yeah, no, it's just such a great song from like the we don't. I always get a rough time from the band to kind of have that Merle Haggard approach where I don't like to have a set list written. I like to just read the room, play songs that they're going to know, but I never tell the band what we're playing until we start playing it. And it's like that one, I just turn around and I just go, T, Tulsa Time, right? And and it just like, it grooves heavy. People recognize it, people love it. But I think that's actually part of it, is that so many bands don't play that tune, that is kind of one of those hidden gems where they're like, oh, I love this song, or I grew up on this, or and it's that's probably what I really love to. I don't necessarily like to play the huge hits. I mean, you have to, but I like playing songs like Tulsa Time, or another one I love is All You Ever Do Is Bring Me Down from the Mavericks.
And so I know that on social media you do have that on there, part of your barn sessions, and that's pretty cool. So we're not necessarily going to be playing that here, but I do tell the viewers to go and look that up, because I really enjoyed that. And one of my favorite lines of just in general, it's kind of weird, but I love when they're like, "Bring me down, Flacco," and I just love it. And it is such a great thing. Just always excites me every time I hear that song, and to watch you play the guitar and the harmonica, that's pretty cool. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Now, one of the things that I also like to check, and I guess you kind of already alluded to it, but I always am curious what artists do outside of music to have fun. And it sounds like you're an outdoors man, and you were talking about that you do rodeos. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it kind of I definitely when I rodeo, I heard this line in a song one time, and I heard it one time. I don't even know who did this song, but it's probably on some kind of Red Dirt playlist somewhere. But it's a song about a rodeo dance, and so I guess there's a girl and a guy, like a bronc rider or something like that. And he's kind of chatting up this girl, and the lead singer walks over and he's trying to chat up this gal a little bit too, and then he kind of looks over and he's like, the singer pulls a check every night, right? So when I go on rodeo, it's a lot of donating money and laughs and just hanging out with your friends. And I really go and try to excel at the performance that evening. So it's ranch rodeoed for a bit, and we'd play the rodeo dances after, and so that was always really fun. We'll do that a couple times this summer too, and then I love to just we'll brand calves, or we'll work at the community pasture, or just do anything. I just love being horseback. So and then I think sometimes I wrestle with, what do I love more? It's like, do I love being in the woods in the backcountry, or do I love kind of being doing the rodeo stuff? And it's always a toss up. Like I really love being deep in the woods with my horses.
Yeah, having best of both worlds, though, you can't go wrong with that. And that's pretty cool that you get to do that. I know my horse days have been kind of far and in between now. Ever since I moved to this area of Florida, I just haven't ridden too many horses. And just something about what I vision of certain areas of Canada, and being able to ride horses up there, and the beautiful long sky would be, what an awesome thing for me to do one day. But even so, I always like to talk about food. So when I get up to Canada, hopefully one day, I'm curious, what are some of the foods that you like? And if I were to come up in your area, what are some things that I just have to try?
Well, I think I was out at an event a couple nights ago with some fishing buddies of mine, and we've got a great fishery up here. I mean, one of the fish that I love to eat would be like a pickerel or a walleye, and it's I don't know that I may be around the Great Lakes and stuff like that. I don't know how far south down their territory would actually kind of extend. But that's kind of like a great kind of local staple. And then here in the prairies, we've got the full catalog of kind of protein, right? Your pork, your chicken, your hogs, your beef. They're all kind of in this neighborhood as well. So I think one of the other strengths that you'd kind of find in the prairie landscape, as far as culinary topics go, we've got just a diverse culture, a diverse collection of different cultures. And so, you can all of a sudden, you can have some great Mennonite food, depending on the town that you're in. You can have some great Ukrainian food, for example, too. But then there's also like fantastic sushi and fantastic Korean barbecue. So it's like you could just get anything in this neighborhood. But the neighborhood that I live in is a strong pork producing area. So I do like to smoke a lot of just make a lot of pulled pork and smoked pork. I smoke a lot of pork. I cook for the guys when we're on the road, so I spend a lot of time just kind of prepping protein in that kind of a way. But there's pork up and down this highway here. It's everywhere. So
Yeah, and just listening to you, I mean, that sounds great, and I'd love to try that. And it kind of made me think of another artist that I'm friends with, John Eason. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he makes his own barbecue sauce. He's he's a culinary guy too, and I think you two need to get together and bring your smoked meat with his barbecue sauce and just see how that comes out. I'll have to let him know to watch this podcast. But, that definitely sounds good. And then as far, I always have to ask this, just because I'm a hockey fan, and not so much just because of the stereotype, but being in Canada, are you a hockey fan? Because you talk a lot about the outdoors, and that's not typically the same thing as a hockey fan would describe.
Well, Randy Bachman from the Guess Who, they're kind of a big deal in the prairies. They wrote that tune "American Woman" back in the 70s, and Randy Bachman is kind of a spokesperson for a bunch of Canadian music and just a wealth of knowledge. And he used to have this radio show, and he'd say on the radio show one time, like if you're from the prairies, you either play guitar or you play hockey. That's the only way you can get through the winter, is go to your basement and play guitar, or go to the community club and learn to play hockey. So I do play hockey. I do not as much as I used to, but I did play a lot of hockey growing up.
Oh, okay. Well, very good. Well, I never got the opportunity to really do that, but that's okay because I can't really skate. I can get going, but once I get going, I don't know how to turn or brake. So I don't think I would be very good at doing that. Maybe you could set me up as a goalie. I don't know, but I definitely enjoy watching hockey, and it's always fun. And you mentioned coming down to Nashville. How often do you come down to Nashville?
It depends on the phase I think that I'm in. If I'm doing a bunch of songwriting, maybe I'm coming down a couple times a year. And if I'm touring a lot, then there's just not enough time to do it. And I think the border shutdowns just kind of threw that rhythm off a little bit. So I was down there, I guess, about a year and a half ago. It's been a while. I'm overdue. Really, what it comes down to, I'm overdue for getting back there.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, if you do get down to Nashville, hopefully I get to see you maybe there or in Canada someday, or even better, come down to Florida. We'll host you down here. Either way, your show sounds awesome, and I definitely want to see it in person. So people, make sure you're following Quinton Blair. I got his social media down below. Check out his new song, Someday Sunday, along with his other ones, including $20 Bottle, which we're going to play here at the end of the show. But Quinton, thanks so much for coming on. It was great talking to you. I like your music. And if you ever want to be a guest on Hank's Corner, you're more than welcome to.
I appreciate that, my friend. I really do. Thank you. There's
a tin roof shack on the outskirts of town, and the law don't know when the sun goes down. They got the good stuff you can't find at the store, but you gotta know the knock, knock, knock on the door. Fire up your Friday running full throttle, a whole lot of trouble in a $20 bottle. A giant of a man with a snow white beard, tell your son I've been cooking here for too many years. Out behind the barn in my moonshine still. If they ain't found me yet, they probably never will. It'll kick you like a mule, put a hitch in your hobble, a whole lot of trouble in a $20 bottle. It'll get you swaying left, get you swaying right, makes you wanna love her, it makes you wanna fight. Every last call girl gets to looking like a model, a whole lot of trouble in a $20 bottle. The honky tonk, $10 in. The band was heating up, she was sipping on her gin. She grabbed me by the hand, pulled me out on the floor, and the next thing you know, we were out the back door. Dixie cup was sipping that shine in the dark. Solid country gold got her here in my arms. Swaying to the left, swaying to the right, so Keith Ridley in the full moonlight. She said you only live once, baby, that's my motto. A whole lot of trouble in a $20 bottle. Sun coming up, pounding in my brain. Last night hit me like a runaway train. Rolling down the track, baby, running full throttle. A whole lot of trouble in a $20 bottle. Get you swaying left, get you swaying right, makes you wanna love, makes you wanna fight. Kicks you like a mule, put a hitch in your hobble. A whole lot of trouble in a $20 bottle. Fired up a Friday river, running full throttle. A whole lot of trouble in a $20 bottle. A whole lot of trouble in a $20 bottle. A whole lot of trouble in a $20 bottle.